always tell when a streak's going to come to an end. You win a couple of games, you probably shouldn't.
There are teams out there that could use that quality of playoff goaltending. All right, Ray, you ready to do this?
Yep, let's go.
Powered by Red Media in partnership with TSN. It is season 7 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, playoff edition, presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. From now to May 3rd, Tim Hortons Smile Cookie campaign is back, and it is marvelous. Every Smile Cookie you buy helps support your community because 100% of the proceeds go directly to nearly 700 local charities, community groups across the country, chosen by local Tim Hortons restaurant owners, which is important. So next time you're grabbing that coffee or tea, add a Smile Cookie, because one cookie can execute real change right where you live. All right, Ray, you're at home. I can see that. I've got my glasses shined up. Yeah. Where are you headed? Where are you headed? You got to be jumping into a series as we get to the end of the first round.
Yeah, I was watching the Boston Buffalo game 2 nights ago, and as soon as that game was finished on the beautiful David Pastrnak goal,
Was it nice?
Oh, beauty! I'm on the phone with travel, booking a flight to Boston today. So I'm going to Boston. This is kind of how it works. So I booked that flight on what's today? Today's Thursday. So on Tuesday night at about 8 o'clock Pacific time, and then I get a note, if there's Game 7 Philly and Pittsburgh, I've got to go to on game day on Saturday for Game 7. However, I can only book a tentative ticket. And so I'm watching the game last night. It's in overtime. Goal goes in. I check. No challenges or anything. And then I cancel that. So I'm going to Boston today for Game 6 tomorrow. And then we're in limbo depending on what else is going on. So it's an exciting kind of scrambly time. But home for a few days, got to get around the golfing, saw Reese for a little bit. I'm actually, thanks to Tim Hortons, I'm going to the airport today. Cammie's flying home from a scouting trip, so we're going to meet at the Tim Hortons in Terminal C at the Vancouver airport. So I haven't seen her. I came home, she left. This is actually really tough to disagree on anything this way. So we're going to literally meeting at Tim Hortons in Terminal C.
That's awesome. Mention golf. And in our preamble, as we always do, as we're getting ready to record Ray and Dregs, you talked about a 9-wood and how much you love this thing. And you and I aren't that far removed from, I don't know, do you want to say, when did 7-woods become fashionable? Like last
Not
10
that
years?
long ago.
Is that
Oh,
not
sure.
that long?
Yeah,
Maybe
but not
5.
long. Not that long. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, probably 2/3 of the tour, the PGA Tour, these guys have 7-woods now, right?
Right.
9-wood for me kind of feels the way the 7-wood initially felt until you use it and you go, ooh, I like this club.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. So very quickly explain why the 9-wood. What has the 9-wood replaced in your bag?
Well, I have only hit them. I do not have one yet, but I'm on the way.
Oh, okay.
So
all right. Okay.
I have like a little 4 hybrid that I love. So basically that got rid of my 4 iron, and the 7-wood gets rid of my 5 iron. So here's the thing: the older you get, the slower your swing speed becomes. It just happens. These clubs get the ball in the air, so it helps your game. Like it looks really cool when you got all those shiny irons in there, but if you can't hit 3 of them, what the hell are you carrying them around for? They get heavy. So I've now got, I remember when I got my new clubs, I went and got them fitted, and I got my Titleist woods, and I said to the fitter, man, I don't like this. I got 4 woods in my bag, with all the head covers. He goes, yeah, wait till you have 5. He was just telling me it's going to happen.
It's happening.
It's happening. So I think they're amazing clubs. And here's the thing, just because a tour guy isn't using one, we don't play the same sport. It's not
Agreed.
even the
No,
same. It's like, so
no.
I'm playing really good. I love my clubs. Rashog's getting a 9-wood. He's going to love it. Now,
Mm.
I will say this last little bit of golf talk. Nobody tries to screw with the psyche of somebody else like Darren Drager.
Come
I'm
on.
talking I'm talking about how well I'm playing right now. And it's got nothing to do with the conversation, except he goes, you ever stand on a par three, 200 yards and think, I hope I don't shank this? No, I don't. But that is just like, you're such
It
an
was
idiot.
egregious. It was
Oh,
egregious what he
it
did.
had Ryan nothing. And then Ryan's talking with great, joy about this new 9-wood. And what does Drager say? Oh, wait till next week when it's got scuff marks on the top of it, meaning that he skies it up in the air. So like, there's such a clown. What a clown.
Okay. Let's
Terrible
just revisit
friend.
this conversation in a week or two and find out if the comment was prophetic or not. I think it's
You're a
going to
terrible
happen in
friend.
Ryan's case.
You're a terrible friend. Try and mess
Yeah.
with a buddy's golf game when he's playing well. That's a terrible friend.
Brutal.
This means
brutal.
about 8 more hours a week in the simulator, Ryan, for you to make sure that doesn't happen. That's all.
Let's do a pod, guys. Let's do a hockey
Yeah,
pod.
let's go.
Hey, yeah.
We can segue from golf to round one of the playoffs because
We should.
yeah, I mean, obviously there are players in the next couple of days here who will be golfing because they're not in the postseason anymore. Okay, headlines brought to us by the
Award-winning.
Canadian Brew House. Fans know what the move is. You can arrive early. Happy hour at the Canadian Brew House runs Monday to Saturday, 2 to 6 p.m. Starting at $3.99. You skip the couch and hit the Canadian Brew House. Your home for every puck drop, every goal, every cheer. Massive screens, best fans in town this hockey year. Their house is your arena. So I'm trying to be serious. I'm trying to pay the bills, and you two donkeys are giggling in the background. Like, what's
that
going
was
on?
just that was a perfectly timed, as you went, because there'll be some guys golfing. Out of the unseen comes Rashog, award-winning.
Yeah. Ryan is struggling right now. He's actually traveled, right?
Oh,
he's
no.
he's in Anaheim for game 6. So he's not used
hope
to
his
traveling, by the way.
I hope his constitution holds up, because that'll be some strange food.
Well, he'll have 9 bowls of steel cut oats and blueberries and fruit in the morning, and that'll hold him up till 10, and then he'll get into all the other stuff. So, all right.
Donkeys. Let's go.
Disbelief, perhaps, Ray, for the Pittsburgh Penguins and their fans Wednesday night. Cam York gets a game winner in overtime to end the series in 6 games. The Flyers, of course, moving on to round 2. So for the Penguins, more than look back at that game and look back at the series, I do think that it's more important to look to the future here because, you wonder about Sidney Crosby, you wonder about Evgeni Malkin and Kris Letang. Malkin has said point blank, I want to play at least one more year. And I want to retire in Pittsburgh. There's just that issue that he doesn't have a contract for next season. So, in your crystal ball, do you see all 3 of those guys legitimately coming back and being in that Penguins lineup next year?
Yes. And I'll tell you why. I don't think Crosby's planning on going anywhere. I think, I mean, I don't think. How would I know?
No,
My gut feel is that last year it felt really possible that he was going to move on. And this year there just doesn't have that same feeling around it. Maybe it's because the Penguins made the playoffs and it certainly feels and is less dire than it was a year ago. The Penguins did an amazing job this year, and those older guys, not so much Letang, he really struggled this year, but Crosby and Malkin, Erik Karlsson, they had outstanding years. And so that helped them bridge this year. Now they're going to have to bridge another year, but eventually their production just won't be enough to bridge it. Now they got, I think it's 34 picks in the first 3 rounds of the next 4 drafts. Like crazy number of picks. 20 of them are in the first 3 rounds. they can use those picks to draft players, to trade for younger players. Like that team's going to get younger in a hurry. Does
Yeah.
Sid want to be part of that? And who knows? I mean, he's never given any indication of anything else. And I think that's all part and parcel of what Crosby is, his professionalism, the way he conducts his business. So that's Crosby. I think he's back. Letang's got time on his contract, still got another year. I mean,
Yes.
he has shown signs of age. Now look, he's gone through some pretty scary health stuff too. And nobody's really talked about whether he wants to continue to play or not.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't. He hasn't said anything either. And if he's going to be back, it would be his choice whether he's staying or not. Malkin's a tricky one because he had 50 points this year. He does not move like he used to move. I mean, he's 40
No.
years old. Who does? In the playoffs, he had two pretty productive games, 3 really quiet games, 1 pretty good game. So what do you do with that? What if are you at the point that you make him an offer that he won't accept? Do you make him an offer that he's happy with for 1 year? Does that 1 year, it clearly takes away a spot from somebody. If they have somebody that's like, say they think, just a guy I don't know, but like Rutger McGroarty.
Yeah.
What if they want a spot for him next year? Right? Like all these things become part of it. I would hope that like it feels like if Malkin went to another team, he would be like one of those guys that looks like a fish out of water with another team. That's what it feels like for me. So
I agree.
I don't have this gut feeling on whether he's back or not. He's made it clear he wants to come back.
Yeah.
And they were down this dance 3 years ago, and he was almost gone then. And at the last minute, they came up with some kind of deal that got him to this point. So I say it's more likely they are back, but by like 60 to 40%, not not overwhelming for me.
Wow. What a win, though, for the Philadelphia Flyers, right? Because if this thing drags into a game 7, based on 3 players that we just talked about, and you're right, throw Erik Karlsson and others into that mix. Just the pedigree, the history, everything about the Pittsburgh Penguins probably would have been a big problem for the Flyers in that game 7 environment, but they get their business done, right? Yeah. And now they march forward. And I wonder if Danny Briere and Rick Tocchet and Jonesy are being honest. Could they have forecasted this level of success at the midpoint of the year? Probably not, right? Probably
no
not.
chance.
Yeah.
No chance. And so here, even to get into the playoffs, if you think about this, if Michigan State doesn't lose when they did in college hockey, Porter Martone does not come to their team. Now, he's just one player, but he had 10 points in 9 games. So if Martone doesn't come for another 2 weeks, more than likely they don't make the playoffs, just with that one little change. And then all of this doesn't happen. I think this series, though, is a really good illustration of why it's impossible, for the most part, for teams to come back from down 3-0. The hole is just too big. Pittsburgh played a really good game yesterday. Right before York scored, Anthony Mantha, who's Pittsburgh's leading goal scorer, who, by the way, has never scored a playoff goal. 20 games.
Crazy. Yeah.
Never scored a playoff goal. He's got a chance right in front. Vladar makes one of his 42 saves. Like, Vladar was awesome. So it could have been right there, right? There's your chance.
Yeah.
And then, Ben Kindle, who's had an amazing, I think, for 18-year-old rookie season, he's now 19. He ices the puck after he's gassed on a shift. He's not very good, like most 19-year-olds in the face-off circle. They have to stay out. They lose the draw, and it ends up in the net. Like, tough ending for a really good kid who had a a tremendous rookie season.
Mm.
So Philly moves on. Now they got to play Carolina. Carolina will be my pick in that series.
Yeah.
But this is advanced for the Flyers. They're
Yeah.
like for their mindset, for Jonesy and Danny Briere and Talk. They're thrilled, pumped. I did a lot of that series, but they're very realistic at that they're in the growing stage. And you look at that, they have a third line that they played Michkov last night, Michkov, Cates, and Alex Bump.
Yeah.
Like they're three incredibly inexperienced players. And I gotta give that Michkov some credit here because he gets scratched and he could have gone into the tank a little bit, but he gets back in the next game. He was great yesterday.
Really good. Yeah.
Had a breakaway, had another chance, gets an assist on the game-winning goal, made a nice pass across to York. And so it's funny though, like the Philly's got like this rabid fan base. We know what it's like. So in January, Rick Tockett's an idiot. After being a save
and how Texier shouldn't have been able to get that deep into the offensive zone. But the puck, it didn't necessarily go into his glove, but it deflected off his glove and into the net. And we didn't know that it was going to be the winner at that point. There was still plenty of hockey left, but it still had that feel of being jarring, didn't it? From Vasilevsky's perspective, that puck found a way across the line.
Yeah, in very few instances, I can remember maybe 3 or 4 in 25 years of broadcasting where the coach has actually said after the game, yeah, bad goal. There's always, they always protect the goalie, and I get why they do, but there's no chance that anybody watching that game didn't go, oh, he's got to stop that.
Yeah.
And if you watch Vasilevsky's reaction, he knows he should stop it right away. Like he did. Like his shoulders deflate. And, but like that. So that series, if I've got it right, 3 games have been in overtime. The other 2 have been 1-goal games.
1 goals. Yeah.
And you got 2 teams that have the same number of points.
Yeah.
And last night, Jakub Dobes, who's on my Calder ballot, outplayed Vasilevsky.
He did.
I mean, whether Tampa played good, bad, or Montreal played good, bad, doesn't matter. Dobes outplayed Vasilevsky last night. And, we talked about Michkov coming into the lineup. How about Marty St. Louis dusting off Brendan Gallagher, friend of the show, and really, a 6th round pick that has given everything to that organization and his career. Like when he walks away from the game, he's going to be able to go, I gave everything I had. And not all players can do that. But Galley scores in the first couple of minutes.
Like vintage Gallagher too, right?
Oh,
like right net front. Here we go.
Yeah, traffic, people falling over, and he just punches in the rebound. And so now they're 1 win away. Madness in that building. There will be if the game is close, there will be a moment in Game 6 where there'll be some Montreal momentum. And from experience, there's not any other place I can remember other than the old Boston Garden where you feel like the tide is coming over top of you. Like the momentum is just, you're like, we got to survive. That's all you're trying to do. It might be 4 or 5 minutes. Tampa's going to get, if the game's close, they'll have that challenge, at some point.
Yeah.
It was that way in the Forum, which became is the new Bell Center, and that old Boston Garden. They're the ones I remember the most where you're like, holy, like it's like they got 8 guys out here.
I think let's just go back to Gallagher for a moment, because I think it was after Game 2, if you remember on the podcast, and I asked you if you would consider doing something like that. And maybe was it Game 2 where Kirby Doc
Yep.
mucked up the face off, and
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
he was the guy that wore the goat horns in that market
Yeah.
for how that game went. And we talked about it, and I said, well, would you consider making that swap or bringing Gallagher into the series? And at that point, going into game 3, you said, no, it's too early.
Right.
And obviously, I'm not saying San Luis and the coaching staff would have been talking about it. Probably. I mean, you talk about all scenarios, right?
Sure they
And
do.
especially
Yeah.
when you have a player that pedigree and experience waiting in the wings healthy, you would talk about it. But why did you feel at that point it was too early for Gallagher to come in? And then he comes in for game 5 and, arguably gets an enormous goal to get them going on the road.
I just felt that the first 2 games they had played so well, and because Doc makes a mistake, you have to, and I think Marty, he appears this way anyway as he talks about his team. He really thinks of the player psychology as he's
Yeah.
making these moves. If you take Doc out, then the message not only to Doc but to everybody else is most of you've got one mistake and then you're
That's
out.
tough. That's tough.
And it's almost an impossibility to play that way.
Yeah.
So it felt too early to take somebody out. Now, Oliver Kapanen, who had a great first full season, he's the guy that comes out of the lineup in game 5. That seems appropriate because
Sure.
you're young. Oh my gosh, this series is really crazy. This might be a good spot to put somebody in.
Yeah.
And like somebody that can handle this. And there'll be a time if Montreal advances, they'll probably go back the other way. Right? Now, I remember when Brendan got called up, and I've known him, from the Vancouver area since he was a mite, and I was on with Mitch Melnick in Montreal twice a week at that time. And they had called Galley up and said, "What can you tell us?" And I said, you people in Montreal are going to love this guy. Like there is no chance you will not love this guy. He goes, "Well, he's undersized. He's a 6th round pick." And I'm like, yeah. So again, Galley is another one of my guys. I'm going to go up on the stump again for these guys. He's short. He's not small.
Yeah.
And if you watch that guy play, man, he drives everybody frickin' bananas because he's always talking. He's always in the middle of it. He's kind of like for Philly is Travis Konechny, who drives everybody bananas. Right? And those guys, they're just, they get lumped in with the small guys. They're not small. They really aren't. They're just short. And good for him to come in and hold. What a series that is.
Tremendous.
Unbelievable series.
Yeah. Game 6 on Friday. Then we'll go into the weekend, the potential of game 7s. Obviously, we're going to tee up the Oilers and the Ducks momentarily here, but I do want to wrap up what happened last night. And how about Brett Howden and the Vegas Golden Knights? I mean, Brett Howden now with his 3rd of the postseason, double overtime. He steals and scores shorthanded to give the Golden Knights a 3-2 series edge. Nightmare finish for Utah. And, take me into the headspace of anyone with the Utah Mammoth. Is it as easy to say and then do that you flush that? I mean, there was a mistake, a big mistake made in the offensive zone. Utah's on the power play. Marner is a part of this. Brett Howden gets the puck and scores. How does that have any chance of lingering into the next one, or will Andre Tourné and Utah and the experience they have in that lineup just say we got to move on, just push forward and let's force us game 7?
Well, I mean, there'll be the room. I assume was deathly quiet.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one to swallow here, but you've got a day off and you've got to wash it off and you go play again. I don't really think that lingers so much. You know what I think lingers? 2 games in a row, Utah's had a 4-3 lead late in the game.
Yeah.
2 games in a row, Vegas tied it and won. And that stuff stings. Like they're 52 seconds away last night, or 55, whatever it was, from going back home with a 3-2 lead.
Yeah.
I gotta say, so as I'm watching that game though, like it is an absolute adventure in each net. They're both, Vamelka and Hart are making saves that they don't see.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
Vamelka plays. One of my favorite goalies as a kid, old guy alert here, was Doug Favell. And I
Okay.
always, and because he had flair and he had a colorful mask, and goalies didn't have colorful masks back then.
Right.
So I always remember him being described as a bowl of jello without the bowl. And so that's what I think of Vamelka. It's like he's got tape on his skates. He's all over the place, and he battles and fights, and then goals go in and you go, ooh, I don't really like that.
Yeah.
Right. And then you look and you go, oh, he was second in the league in wins this year
Yeah.
behind Vasilevsky. And then twice last night, Hart made a save where he was looking the other way and it hit him in the pad. And I'm like, this series might be 7-7, like in a game. Like there's
Yeah.
goals going in all over the place. So it's been a wild, unpredictable series. And I think the building in Utah is going to be pretty loud on for Game
Oh
6.
boy. Yeah.
And you talk about the veteran stuff, Drakes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you would hope, if you're Vegas, that stuff would be able to carry
Should
you
lean
through a
their
little
way,
bit.
right? Yeah.
Should, but man, Vegas is dangerous. Or sorry,
Yeah.
Utah is dangerous.
Utah is. Yeah. Okay. Oilers in Anaheim, Game 6. You know, again, the Oilers know what's at stake here. Do you have a feel for this one? A read on what we should
No.
expect? Expect the unexpected, I guess, from Anaheim's perspective. But
Yeah.
it does feel like the Oilers are finding their tune a little bit more.
The last game they did. The game before they didn't.
So
And
you're unsure,
like
right? I mean, I guess
I'm
how
unsure.
can you be sure? Yeah.
And I guess, Dregs, that's what I look at with the Oilers for most of the year. I'm like, just when it looks like it's all, they're starting to piece it together again, then
Yeah.
they take a left turn. I think if they have in their heads about stability and to play, like they don't want to get into this crazy rush game with Anaheim, because Anaheim's so young and they're like wild horses. They're
Yeah.
like all over the place, and you get 4, they get 5. And even the other night, it's 4-1. And man, Ingram had to make some pretty good stops. Like they don't quit on the game. I don't know. I don't really have a feel for this.
It's hard.
I think if Anaheim doesn't win tonight, I don't think they win the series.
Yeah.
Like that's what I don't think they'd win Game 7 on the road. So they may need, as much as we talk about the Oilers goaltending, and we have most of the year, Anaheim needs Dostal's best game, because he's just been okay. He got pulled in Game 5 up in it, right? He gave up the 3 quick ones and he got pulled. And they need, I think Anaheim's going to need an early stretch from Dostal in order to win.
Yeah. And is it the obvious for the Oil? I mean, do you just expect that Leon's going to follow up, in Game 6 where he left Game 5?
He always does, or it seems like he always
seems to.
does.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, look, I mean, if the series started with the Oilers' depth actually having a nice game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, secondary scoring was there. In a perfect world, you'd have all of that, and you march into Game 7, and away you go. But I do wonder from Anaheim's perspective, and maybe that's the experience card that Joel Quenneville plays. Been there, done that. I've seen it all, right? Expect the best from Draisaitl. McDavid hasn't been quiet. He's collecting his points, but by his standard, we're not seeing as much of the brilliance, the explosiveness that we've grown accustomed to. But it kind of does have that feel, at least for me going in, that they're going to need Podkolzin or Kasperi Kapanen or somebody in their bottom six
Sure.
to find a way
Yeah.
to do it. But that isn't. I guess that would be a
That's
normal staple of this deep into the round, wouldn't it?
for sure. I mean, if you're, I mean, you talk about the obvious, and then the reason you want and hope to have depth is you get a big goal from an unexpected source.
Yeah.
I'll give you one for Anaheim. Have you heard anything from Mason McTavish in this series?
No, quiet.
Right. Well, hello. Maybe this is the time.
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
There's guys like that we talk about the top 6 and top 3 defense a lot, and then you mentioned Podkolzin and Kapanen, and maybe it's Mason McTavish. It's one of those guys. I don't think it's possible that Edmonton wins without another good game from Bouchard.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when he's on, like the other night,
It was tremendous.
He makes, I think what I'm more and more appreciating is his ability to pass the puck out of a tough spot and make it look just like he's out there by himself.
Yeah.
Like, he's a great passer. He really is. And, I mean, we've had the full Evan Bouchard experience in this series.
We have.
Where, -5 one game, or on for 5 goals one game, -3 the next, a couple of great games. I mean, it's really the whole thing. But I think he's got to be really good. That as much as the depth is important, the big 3 there in Edmonton, Draisaitl, McDavid, and Bouchard, I think pretty clearly they're going to have at least 2 of them are going to have really good nights.
Yeah. And look, it doesn't matter to me one way or another. There is just something special about a game 7, right? And so
Always.
it doesn't matter what
Yep.
series it is, but that building would be bananas as well.
Oh,
so,
yeah, of course.
I mean,
Yep.
not wishing worst case scenario for the Anaheim Ducks doesn't matter to me. I do just love the theater that goes into a game 7. So we'll see how that plays out. Stars season on the line in Minnesota as we look at that clash in the Central. I'm going through it all, and if you're Glenn Gulletson, you're not making excuses, based on injury and who you don't have, or this guy's playing hurt, or any of that. I mean, that doesn't do you any good. You're looking at some of the realities that you've experienced this point. Discipline has been an issue at times in the series for Dallas. I don't know about you, Ray, but I didn't think 5-on-5 scoring would be it. Look, I mean, we understand the matchup game, and normally your top 6, they will neutralize each other. But
Right.
I didn't think Dallas would struggle as much as they have 5-on-5 in this series. But I guess that's a credit to Minnesota and how structured they are as well.
They are. Wallstedt is very, very good as well.
Yeah.
There is just such a different level to the playoffs, as we talk about and see. But if you get stuck in a bad matchup, that's your matchup for the series. It's not like in the season that, I got a bad matchup today or a tough matchup, and then tomorrow I get a different line with a different team, and I get one there. And you can kind of find an escape hatch. When you're in a series, for the most part, the guy that you look across in game 1, that's who you see all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a good match, and sometimes it's a bad match. And I'll give you one example. Like in my career, myself and Benoit Hogue and Pat Flatley, we were a good line, really pretty well-balanced line. And we played Washington, and the way the matches worked, we ended up against Mikhail Pavelka, Peter Bondra, and Dmitry Kristich, and really good players. But they liked playing a certain way that we weren't going to play. And so the only way we could beat them was to make the game our game instead of them making it theirs. Because every shift, I went out there and I took a face-off against Pavelka, and Flats would have to deal with Bondra. Flats must have slashed Peter Bondra 5,000 times in that series. It was ridiculous. Like, we smothered them. and we ended up knocking them out in 6 games. And Hoagie was this super
Wow.
fast skater. They couldn't get away from him. And so it became for us, as the series goes on, you start to feel stronger in your matchup. And I think
Mm,
right now, Dallas has a bunch of guys that at 5-on-5, they can't seem to find their way against the
yeah.
match that they have. The other thing is, I would, if you're coaching Minnesota's team, right? You've got Hughes and Faber that play about 29 minutes each,
Yeah.
right? So you've got to work around about half a game. Those guys are going to be out there half the game. In the middle of the ice, they lack creativity. But 2 guys they have, Eriksson Ek and Hartman, and then you add Michael McCarron, I guess. So 3,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
really strong defensive guys. And so what they lack maybe in creativity, they check. And I think that's been a problem for Dallas in the series. You bring up the 5-on-5. I think that's probably the reason
Yeah.
why it's been difficult. The center position, the matchups favor Minnesota, and they have, in particular, Faber's had an amazing series, but Faber and Hughes are out there half the time.
I assume it came from a Minnesota Wild account, not an actual team account, but a fan account on Instagram this morning. There was a video, and I think the banner read Jamie Benn in his pre-series workout, and he's got a bar, not a hockey stick, but a bar, and he's just cross-checking an exercise ball. That's all he's doing, just one right
Yeah.
after the other. And
He's
yeah, it's got that element to it.
Yeah, he got away with one. Well, he got fined, but man, that was close to something
Yeah.
worse. I did a game 6 in Dallas at one point a couple years ago, and he took a major in the first 5 minutes. He got kicked out.
Yeah.
And like when the wires touch.
Ooh, look out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned early though, discipline. This is
Yeah,
part of it, and
it is.
so the discipline thing is not been Dallas's friend.
No. Well, let's wrap up headlines with that. And this isn't unusual, but I'm curious on what your read on it is. So we still see enough penalties every game to
Mhm.
this point of the first round of the
Yeah.
playoffs. You see enough penalties, but it
Yeah.
does feel, and it's probably more to the point that teams have settled in with one another. And so you will have spontaneous combustion because they're sick of each other too. And you get into the
Yeah.
game 5, game 6 scenario too. But it does look and feel like Nikita Kucherov had a slash last night. I don't know if you saw it.
No.
I mean, it's a penalty all day, every day. And it wasn't called. I mean, they missed stuff,
Yeah.
or they're just like, you know what? Let's just let them play. So which is it for you as you scour all series to this point? Like
I think
feeling out process that has ended, or
well, I'll tell
them?
you, you know what I think happens is, um, we hear this term, and I don't really believe it much, but the copycat league,
Yeah,
right? And that's talking more about building your team. But
yeah,
really, what history has shown us, and the Florida Panthers almost perfected, is if you commit, and I'm not saying this is a negative, I'm just saying we did the same thing, but that's the recent example. They cannot and will not call 37 minor penalties in a game. Flood the market, do whatever you want to do, just don't be
yeah,
obvious.
right,
And so no matter, like, the league will tell you we call all the penalties that we see. That's not the case. It's not, because it would be easy for each team to have 10 power plays each in a playoff game.
for
Dregs,
sure.
every puck battle is so intense
Yeah,
that somebody walks away and boom, somebody gets a punch in the back of the head. It's a penalty, but they don't call
yeah,
it.
no,
And because they're like, we cannot call everything. So you can call it managing the game, and fans get pissed off when it's their team that gets punched in the face. But if their guy gets the penalty for punching someone else in the face, they think it's ridiculous. I
mm,
I do not envy these guys. The other thing that's happened, this embellishment crap it's an embarrassment. Like when these guys go down and they're holding their face and they're rolling around and then they get up and skate away. Like, come on. So what are the officials going to do? I think, honestly, the supervisors should say before the series, they should tell each coach, we will call an embellishment penalty and we'll call it as much as we see it. It's the only way to make players stop, because what it does is it is so hard in the moment for the official to separate embellishment from somebody that actually gets a stick in the face. These guys are flipping their heads back and, like it, which it's happened forever, but now it happens even more frequently. There are guys like last night, Barbashev took a little bit of a high stick and he's rolling around on the ice. He gets up, there's no mark, there's nothing. Then you look at it from a side angle, you go, hey, that maybe it was a cross check, but then Utah got an embellishment penalty. Like it never ends. It never ends. And I think to complain about it, you're just barking into the wind, because unless the officials call 10 penalties each, there's going to be penalties they don't call. That's just so the players know it, and they're going to take advantage until they get burned.
Yeah, sure. All right, those are your headlines. Thank you to the Canadian Brewhouse.
It feels like Tim Hortons has always been part of my routine, certainly as a dad, as a coach, or taking my kids to the early morning hockeys. Had to go through the drive-thru and get my cup of coffee and get the Timbits for the kids. Can I get a medium coffee with milk, please? Then even driving into studio now at TSN. If I don't go through the drive-thru, get my medium coffee with milk, I feel like my routine has been interrupted.
Here's your coffee.
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys.
You too. Only way to start a day.
We're going to get Ask Ray and Dregs going again as we drift into the second round, right?
Yep.
There's just so much going on around the league right
Yep.
now. So much of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast is committed to the headline. So again, thank you to the Brewhouse. But we will ask you for your questions, your comments, whatever you want to talk about here on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast in the near future. But we do go to a staple, and it's the Tim's Hockey Challenge. And we bring in Kris Sabunia twice a week to help us sort through. And not unlike Tuesday, Zuby, when it really was a segment to steal it from Friends and Marty St. Louis, the Tim's Hockey Challenge has become a segment about nothing. Because I, again, got 0 goals Tuesday night.
Okay, so before Zuby jumps in this, there used to be a baseball player called Mario Mendoza. And for his career, he hit 200, which is, of course, terrible. And
not good. Oh.
So they called it the Mendoza line. And any hitter that was below it was below the Mendoza line. We have become the Mendoza line. I'm Mario Mendoza or Ryan Rishaug. It's all the same thing. And I'm a 0 for last selection as well.
Zub, how about you, bud?
They still use that Mendoza line. I mean, imagine having your career. That's the end result of your career, the lasting impression that you set. I think, Dregs, before anybody gets on you referred to Friends as being the show about nothing. I think you mean Seinfeld when you're referring to your...
Oh, yeah, I said Friends, Seinfeld, yes.
Your show about nothing.
Thank you.
I was also going to say, guys, they don't call it the Tim's Hockey Easy. It's the Tim's Hockey Challenge, and it has been a challenge for all of us. And so Logan Cooley, for me, in the first day of this playoff challenge, is the one selection that any of us have gotten correct so far.
This is weak, man.
I'm running away with this thing with 1. I didn't get any more this week. 0s across the board. There's some... Tonight, these have been, especially I was thinking to myself after the fact, I only picked one player from Oilers Ducks tonight. That might be a
Really?
mistake because
Why?
there's a lot of goals because of
That's
who
the-
was available. There's been so
Right.
many goals scored in those games that maybe I'm missing out on something obvious. But
I took two. Zach Hyman out of the first. It just feels, it's got that Hyman feel to it, this game,
Okay.
right?
I took
I
I
think
took Beckett Seneca.
yeah.
That kid is so good. He's gonna score.
so good.
and do factor, I thought of that too.
Yeah.
So who'd you take in the first bucket, Zoop?
I ended up going with Rantanen.
Yeah, he
It's hard
needs
to pass
score.
up a
I looked
goal
at him,
scorer
yeah.
like that.
Okay, in the 2-hole.
And then I got Pods. I got Vasily Podkolzin, another Seinfeld reference,
Oh yeah.
as I like to call him.
Very good.
And probably I'm not the only one who took Mr. Quinn Hughes in the third bucket.
No, I didn't take him.
I didn't pick Quinn Hughes. I took.
right.
Oh, you know who I took in the third bucket? Because this is what I feel.
Okay.
That game is close. There's an empty netter, and Michael McCarron is going to ice the series.
Interesting.
That's my call there. In bucket 2, I went with Kasperi Kapanen.
So did I. So there
It doesn't
we're
matter.
one.
Dregs, I hope you at least get one right.
Yes, I get
Right.
that. I actually took Maverick Bork, which is, I don't know why. I mean, he's a good kid. I like him. I don't know.
Well,
How
It
do
just
we
jumped
know?
at you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there you
I
go.
liked Ryan Paling in that third bucket too. I thought that was a potential.
Nah, that's
Okay, can I-
recency
okay.
bias. That's what that
Yeah,
is.
it is. As we're talking about this, should anybody be listening to us about our picks? We have zero.
No.
We have
No,
none.
0.
Any name we have
Well, Zuby has
mentioned,
one.
avoid. If
Yeah.
you're a person
Yeah.
out there making your picks,
Yeah,
avoid
pick
it.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Billy Dodson, a producer at TSN, took Brett Howden back to back on the Tim's Hockey Challenge.
Wow.
Both games, this guy has scored. Billy D has had Brett. I'm like, come on, man. What
Well,
are
you got to
we
stay
doing here?
now. You got to stay
Yeah,
now.
you got to stay now.
And Schauger was
All right.
an offer on Monday as well.
Well,
if I had-
yeah,
I
so,
thought
yeah,
that
That's
went
the least
without saying,
surprising
but-
thing that we've talked about
Yeah.
today. Yeah. All right, Zuby.
All right, thanks
buddy.
guys. Good luck.
All right, there's Chris Abunia, the Tim's Hockey Challenge. We're hoping for better news and more productivity, of course, leading into tonight's games this Thursday and through the weekend until we check in again next week. So, hey, you got a plane to get, so we got to get out of your way.
Oh.
Put the golf clubs away
Oh.
for at least a few days
Yes.
and get your game face back on.
Yep. Time to go back to work. Before I scoot,
Yeah.
I want to mention, Dregs, we talked about this, and around the hockey world has just been a really, really tough couple of days. The passing of John Garrett, one of the most incredible people you could ever possibly walk around and run into. Everybody has a Cheech story. I'm not kidding. There are literally hundreds of stories about him.
Endless.
Often about his good mood, his good spirit, something that he ate and covered in ketchup. I don't know why he always does whatever, because we're analysts. We weren't working together very often, or almost never, and so whenever I'd run into him, he'd always say, "Ray Ferraro, yes, yes, yes." I don't know why he said that, but he said it all the time. Yes, yes, yes. And it cracks me up. And so when I was seeing all these beautiful tributes, and my good friends John Shorthouse and Dan Murphy were on Sportsnet the other day, and they were talking about Cheech, and you could just see the love they had for him, 15 or so years together, and the way they talked about him. It's just a tragic thing. And to Sharon and the family, our condolences. Cheech, you were a good man, and we're going to miss you.
Well, we're richer for the stories and the experiences, right? And you're not wrong. It's a tough hockey world to look forward and not have John Garrett be a part of it.
Yeah.
He had that soothing voice. The knowledge, of course, as a former goaltender was there, but the self-deprecating humor. And you're right to acknowledge the tributes, Ray. I thought our pals at Sportsnet did a masterful job. Like when you hear Kevin Bieksa talk about, as a player, the experiences that he shared with John and Shorty and Murph, either on the charters or nights before games and all of that, that's from the heart stuff, right? And if you didn't know John, and maybe you didn't even know his work, it's impossible not to think of him fondly and appreciate that. Above all else, he's just a terrific person. So rest in peace, Cheech. We'll miss you. Thanks, Ray. Safe travels, buddy.
Thanks, Drakes. Have a good weekend, everybody, and hope your teams are able to push through, and hope we get some game sevens. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Tremendous theater. All right. Thank you to our sponsors who continue to support us here on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. Our title sponsor, Tim Hortons, thank you. And thank you to the Canadian Brew House. Enjoy the playoffs. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, everybody.